everyone, welcome back to this thing. I honestly didn't think I'd be making another one of these, but apparently I didn't suck as much as I thought I did, and you guys actually wanted a sequel to this? So here we are, back with another 5 facts that you probably didn't know. Today we'll be talking about the sequel to Hotline Miami 2, Wrong Number, which I personally believe is a lot more in-depth than the original game, so there's a ton of stuff you guys probably haven't heard of. So without any delay, let's dive right into 5 things you probably didn't know. Number 5. Now, this first fact is probably the lamest of the bunch, but don't worry, it's still kinda cool-ish. So, in the level Homicide, the song Tech Noir by Perturbator is played in the background of the level. What's interesting about this song is the name of it and the beginning of the song, which is cut out from Hotline Miami 2. In the beginning of the song, it starts off with this.
Digit, this is Sarah. Pick up if you're there. I'm at this place on Pico Boulevard called Tech Noir.
And then proceeds to get into the 80s synth we all know and love. Now, this audio clip is from the 80s movie Terminator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. In this one scene it's referencing, Arnold's target is in this club, Tech Noir. However, when he's about to kill his target, Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, attacks him with a shotgun. There is then this awesome fight between the two, notably with Uzis, pistols, and shotguns. Now, you're probably wondering, alright, cool, but why? Who cares? Well, in the level Homicide, he plays Manny Pardo, who could start this particular level with a shotgun. And it's only in this level, which this, in and of itself, could be a subtle homage to Kyle Reese using a shotgun in Terminator. Number 4. Alright, so as many of you are aware, Overkill Software and The Nation had 2 Hotline Miami collaborations in Payday 2. But did you know there was actually supposed to be a third connection between the games? In Hotline Miami 2, there is an unused mask titled Sprite 2772 that resembles an unpainted Hoxton Mask. For those that don't know who this guy is, he is a character from Payday 2 that was broke out of prison thanks to the Hotline Miami DLC. It is unknown whether this mask was supposed to be playable or just for a cutscene, or even supposed to be in the game at all. However, we do know Dennis Whedon made it while visiting Overkill to work on the Hotline Miami DLC for Payday 2, so maybe he just made it out of boredom. But I prefer to think it was a scrapped reference. Either way, it is kinda cool, and I actually didn't know that, but the file is still in the game to this day. Number 3. Now, if you have ever played Hotline Miami 2, you'll know how many cool, unique characters are jam-packed into this game. Obviously, there is a lot of unused and hidden content about most of these characters, but for this entry, I'll only be talking about 2 characters, Evan Wright and Manny Pardo. If you're wondering why these characters, it's just that they have some fairly interesting backstories and unused content. So, let's start off with the cop who doesn't play by the rules, Manny Pardo. Manny Pardo is likely based on Sonny Crockett from the 80s show Miami Vice, as both have similar appearance and don't go by the book. Both are also detectives in an 80s drug-filled Miami setting. However, one notable difference is that unlike Sonny, Manny Pardo is kinda fucked in the head. Now, the name Manny Pardo actually derives from a real-life Miami detective, Manuel Pardo. And oh god, what a face. Whew, man, that's gonna keep me up at night. Now, when I say real life, I mean someone who was alive. This guy got sentenced to death in 1988 in Miami, Florida, and put to death on December 11th, 2012. He was a police officer who became infamously known for killing 9 victims, who mostly consisted of men in their early 30s. Most of these killings occurred with firearms, much like Manny Pardo in Hotline Miami. Obviously, you can see how this inspired the character, but even for Devolver Digital, this is pretty dark. Taking a real-life cop-turned-serial killer and planting him in a game kinda gives me the shivers, you know? It just, unsettling. Now, on to Evan Wright. The inspiration for Evan Wright comes from a real-life journalist who shares the name, best known for writing the book Generation Kill, which was later turned into a series for HBO. His appearance in-game seems to match ex-Mafia member John Roberts' look on the cover of Evan Wright's book, American Desperado. Just like Evan in Hotline Miami, the real-life Evan Wright interviews criminals to write about their life and crime, which that's kinda cool. For all intents and purposes, this author is actually in the game. Another thing about Evan Wright is that in the planning phases of Hotline Miami 2, he was originally going to be called the Dad, and his character's plot would be that of a dad who would neglect his family to seek out and destroy the darkness of Miami before obsessing over the truth and going insane. This concept is still present with his rage mode and the choice to abandon your family at the end of the game. However, the whole going insane and obsessing over the truth was then given to Manny Pardo instead. Number 2. Another character most of you may know is the Son. This is the final character you play as in the storyline. He is the son of the Don you executed in the first game. His overall plotline in the game is pretty simple: revenge. I have a feeling that most of you already know this. Instead, I want to talk about the masks, or more appropriately, the weapons you can start each level with. The first weapon you unlock is called the Bodyguard Technique, and it is a pair of broken glasses. When selected, you can start the level with a katana and have the ability to roll like Corey. This katana belonged to his father's former bodyguard, who was some sort of like samurai ninja thing. It is most probable that these glasses actually belonged to her. If you look closely in the fight with Jacket, she's actually wearing a pair of sunglasses. As we all know, this fight did not end well for her, and the sunglasses may have gotten broken in the fight. The second weapon you can unlock is the Dirty Hands, which is a pair of spiked brass knuckles that resembles a cat's paw. This is referencing his father's panthers, who could kill Jacket in one swipe, which is why it gives the son the ability to kill enemies in one punch. It could also be a reference to Tony from earlier in the game, as they are identical abilities, and Tony is also a feline. But more realistically, that's just a coincidence. Finally, the last item unlocked is the Bloodline Technique. Out of the 3, this one is probably the coolest. This is a necklace made from a bullet engraved with the date that his father was killed on, which I actually never really noticed this tiny detail, but honestly, that's freaking cool! And obviously, the ability to use dual submachine guns is a reference to his father's dual submachine guns. The bullet is most likely from one of these machine guns, but that's never really proven, it's just heavily implied. So, I guess, like father, like son. Number 1. For the final factoid thing that you probably didn't know, it's something that stems from the original Hotline Miami. Back when the first Hotline Miami was getting ready to release, a trailer was put out that shows a fat man in a pig mask sitting alone in a room. The gameplay to accompany this also features a unique character model that was never seen in the final game. What's interesting about this trailer is the fact that this was the only trailer that prominently displayed the use of phones in the game, which was kind of weird that the use of messages was not included in any of the other trailers for a game called Hotline Miami. Hotline, phone, you know, just saying. Anyway, where was I? The other thing about this trailer is the fact that it starts off with based on a true story, which hopefully you know this, but Hotline Miami is not something that actually occurred, like ever. So this trailer starts off with a lie, right? Well, not actually. This trailer isn't a trailer for Hotline Miami, but rather the movie Midnight Animal, which stars Martin Brown, aka the Pig Mask Guy, and is mentioned in the second game fairly heavily. This is a movie based off the events from Hotline Miami, and some of the facts are slightly obscured because Hollywood is Hollywood. Like the belief that all the phone calls were in the protagonist's head in the first game, and him being an overweight slob. But in this trailer, that's what it portrays, and that's what it says is based off a true story. It doesn't have the main character listening to the phone, but rather hearing the messages in his head while being an overweight, gross pig dude. Now, some of you may have noticed this, but personally, I found this super crazy. Once you start thinking about it, you're like, what? It's crazy how a trailer for a game that came out in 2012 was actually just a well-hidden reference to a subplot in the sequel, which came out many years later. So I applaud you, Devolver Digital, for that one. Very well played. Anyways, that's going to do it for this list. I hope I taught you at least one thing you didn't know, but I'm sure I'll get the comments of, Ryder, I knew all of these. You suck. Oh yeah, before we go, I just want to say, if you like Hotline Miami videos and you like watching this type of stuff, go check out a guy named Squatch Gaming. He's a really cool dude who does a ton of videos about Hotline Miami. I can't say that all of his videos are true, because a lot of them are very theory-esque, but it's still very interesting. So if you go over there, tell him I sent you. Anyways, if you have any comments or suggestions you'd like to tell me, leave it below in the comments, and as always, have a swell day. Peace out.